Magic.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. Today on the Love Change podcast, lovely Kay and I, Amor, will be talking about changing into the new version of yourself or a new version of yourself. If you're listening to this podcast, you care about change. You know that it's messy, not pretty always, and actually, for me, I can speak for myself, the most joy in life I get out of change. So it's actually a very exciting part of life.
And I also believe it's the most constant part of life.
Change is a big constant. So, the reason why we're talking about changing to a new version of yourself is because it's a big reason why people decide to pick up coaching, decide to do self development, want to pick up new habits. You envision a bigger, better, uh, faster, smarter, maybe richer, maybe more girls, maybe more boys, whatever version of yourself, and you set out on creating that for yourself. And as much as you are creating things outside of yourself, big part of that change also takes place internally. And that's where it gets interesting. That's why we're talking about it today. So we have our prime example, Kay, right here. If you think about the
Manifesting change.
changing into a new version of yourself.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it was your idea to come up with the topic.
Mhm.
And kind of, I'm like, yeah, what made you decide, talk about it and where you at in the process?
I think I always feel like change is also an iterative process. So it's something that repeats and you're like gradually improving and taking steps along the way. For myself, why I came up with the topic today has to do with a lot of change that I have put myself through in the past, and actually realizing that there is plenty of change I have ahead of me. Um, I dealt with a lot of pain and agony in all the change that I was going through, and I embarked on the mission to really help others also get good at change, to alleviate that suffering, that hardship, and slowly I'm also realizing to really uh, carry out that mission properly, I also have some internal changes that I need to go through that will allow me to do that better.
You want to tell us more about that? Right now, it's very cryptic, I would say.
I think for me,
We're not so much in the cryptic game here.
no, it's true, it's fair enough. Um, I coach people. I coach groups. I speak at seminars, and I always thought that I'd be able to do that and have the impact that I want to have on the world if I do my research and read up on a bunch of topics and really work on my skill set. While recently I've been seeing more and more feedback on actually that people are more interested in what makes me me. And I struggled with that in the sense that I was like, it shouldn't be about me. So I was having a little conflict with my ego about it. Like, haha, it's about me, but it actually isn't. But I was able to step out of my own shoes and look at myself from a distance and truly realize, okay, I'm helping people with motivation, with mindset, with a holistic approach on life, with how they manage their energy. And actually, if I look at all the moments that I've been faced with adversity in my life, I always had a very positive attitude towards it. I wasn't struck by it, didn't feel like a victim, always celebrating what is left and what's still there. And actually, those are the things that apparently people admire, and I take them for granted. And feeling comfortable about that part of myself to really put myself out there like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I'm working on to also, yeah, be content about that. That it doesn't need another external checkpoint or milestone achievement to be able to inspire many. Actually, the way I am living my life and how I show up in the face of setbacks, that's the biggest part of my work also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that I have tools and etc.
Mm-hmm.
But primarily taking life with humor and joy when shit is hitting the fan. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I always looked at it as a very logical choice. And I looked
That
at
is
it as,
beautiful.
yeah, and I looked at it as a choice. And both of these instances, I've been told, is something that people don't have. Like, the people don't see it as a choice. And secondly, if they also see the other option, they don't see it as a logical choice to show up positively.
Mm.
That's why I was working a bit, and I was like, yeah, actually, for me, it is always, do you want to show up destructive or constructive? And I enjoy to be constructive, even if we're falling out of the sky. You can panic and be like, "Oh my God, this is my life is over," or you can be like, "Oh wow, I've never seen the Earth from this angle, and let's enjoy these final breaths."
I love this logical approach to that. That's really beautiful. And honestly, in my opinion, you're not even the glass is half full guy. You the, oh, it's half full. It's almost full. That's how I feel.
I'm
It's
just
really
like
amazing.
water.
Yeah,
Who's thirsty?
but what got my attention in the things you said was the ego part.
Yeah.
What was that in this construct? It's like, why does that play a role? What makes you think that it's an ego construct or that the ego is involved in that because you're talking about yourself?
You know what I think where that comes from is like, um, as I was talking about it with my coach as well, I don't want to show up telling people that I am awesome. I would not like that version of myself. And in some sense, I feel that way if I have to just talk about me, if I talk about how I show up. And I see you cringing a bit, but I'm going to finish my sentence. For me, it's about if I show up somewhere that people feel like I can be like that guy. He actually inspires and motivates me to do what he did for myself in my life. And maybe I haven't had enough examples of people that show me in a way that what they're doing is also something I can do. You know?
So if I understand that correctly, it's like talking about yourself is equal. If I exaggerate,
Blowing your own horn.
bragging.
Yeah. It's
Why?
why? Yeah. Good question.
It's a fair question, no?
I don't.
I mean, the
per
way you
se-
like, you're very cautious with words.
Mm.
That's point one. So I'm very sure the way you would phrase it would be very, very careful
I think-
about
I think
what
the-
role
the-
you are playing in that
I think the
construct.
issue for me was with, like, I've stood on stages and I've shared my story, but the cornerstone, the foundation of what I was speaking about was science or human resilience, and not taking myself as a prime example. And that is a part of it that I've, like, the old version of me feels uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And the new version of me is actually figuring out how to do that in a way that inspires others to do that for themselves as well. Um,
Yeah, I think the beauty in that is that you can talk as much as you want about science, and this is great, and it's backed up by science. But people listening to someone that is backing their life with science inspires them way more. because you're the living example of that, you know. And this is like this combination, those two components are absolutely powerful.
I completely agree.
So it's not necessarily so much about
I
you.
think, yeah, for me, it's all about feeling worthy. Just like the old version of me struggles with asking for help. Asking, it's the same thing, asking for attention for just me, you know? And that is where the discomfort lies for me, to be like, okay, all these people are here gathered for
To listen
me.
to you.
Yeah, for me. And
Okay, I get you.
if I want to share a story, I have to acknowledge that it's special enough to share, because I'm taking people's time. And actually, I was reflecting on a whole bunch of terrible moments in my life. And I'm just looking like, how did I show up? I always showed up constructively. And I've got plenty of stories that you're like, okay, this is a good time to smoke crack or jump off a bridge. But I was just watching cartoons and I wasn't happy per se, but I never lost faith. I always was able to tune into meditation and work on healing, and just like my dad says, never complain, never ask why me, or how could this happen, but just like, as long as you're breathing, you're one of the lucky ones. That's really something that I believe. And um, I wasn't aware of how many people don't look at life like that.
Yeah, I think the core of that is also seeing the silver lining, right? But what I believe, because you're saying that you haven't been able to understand that not many people see it like that, I think the most natural qualities that we have in us, that we like really embody because we just live it and never question them, super subconscious things, we would never think this is something special that would inspire other people. Because like the things, if I have that, I'm like, isn't everyone like this?
No.
And then people tell me like, no, and I'm like, oh, because it's so
Yeah,
natural
and
to me.
imagine,
that's kinda the
imagine
same.
that you have to show up somewhere and emphasize the parts of yourself that you're not even conscious of, that it's something special. There's this weird discomfort about like what you consider as normal, to put that on stage and really
Put a
like what I
spotlight on it.
if I reflect, like when I was completely paralyzed, I was always thanking my body and putting a holy body mantra out there to heal and to recover. And just recently, I was like, okay, it's great that I'm thanking my body, but I've never thanked myself, my character, my
Oh my
resolve,
gosh.
or my attitude. These are also parts,
Huge
yeah,
parts.
big parts of the package that makes you a human and makes you tick.
It makes you you,
Yeah.
and makes you being where you are 8 years after the accident,
Mm.
despite what you have been told what your condition would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying that on a side note, but
Yeah, just today, walking better than ever before.
this was really impressive.
After 8 years of injuries and broken legs and twisted ankles and knees and bruises.
Super good tempo.
Yeah, and then like that body will not function without the spirit. And I'm for me it's almost like very interesting also when I was in satsang in Portugal, talking, learning about enlightenment and self-actualization, self-realization, to realize how much of that is like always inside of you, but you just overlook it. You're like, you can't see your own nose, but it's there and it allows you to smell, and you just take it for granted.
This is such a good way to phrase that. It's exactly what I mean.
It's
Like
there.
the things that are so natural to you, you just take them for granted. You just don't understand that your mindset is so powerful. And the way you phrase things is just different because you just never considered doing it differently. but you experience people doing it differently, and you're like, wow, you're super negative towards life because it's just not. It doesn't resonate with you. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and I think for me, if I think of changing into the new version of myself, in that sense, creating comfort and like accepting really that I am doing great. I don't need more achievements,
Mm.
more whatevers to believe that I am doing it. I am doing it right now, every day.
Mhm.
Waking up with pain, not reaching for pain medication, not reaching for any type of abuse, just breathing it off and doing positive things every day.
I don't even think there will be abuse. Like you have been offered the option to
Yeah,
take
yeah, it's out
medication
there.
every
Yeah.
day, so I disagree on the abuse part. It will be just use. What most people will do. Like when we visited your friend last week, and Martina said she had corona and she had like super muscle pain and probably something like you have, and she couldn't sleep.
No. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, yeah, that's what people experience. They cannot sleep,
Yeah.
and you just take it as it comes. And no, it's not abusing any medication.
No.
So it's like this part already is super powerful.
Mm.
I think it also like what I struggle with is that part of comparing, because in some sense you need to compare where you are with others.
Mm.
But what I see for me the most powerful is what people tell me what they see in me. So if I have someone that I have worked with that was my intern or whatever, it was in my team, however the constellation was, but people are like, hey, back then, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, you inspired me to do this and that. You inspired me with your attitude. That's the points for me where I'm like, that doesn't seem to be something norm. It's something more than
If it's
norm. It's
worth
special,
mentioning, yeah.
So it's not putting myself in comparison with someone and being like, oh yeah, my attitude is super positive while other people here are negative. No, it's like if I inspire people and people tell me that, that's why I'm like, oh, that seems to be a special quality or skill.
Yeah, I know that
That's how I
from the
kind of
fact
measure
that
it.
people, when they are in a bad place, they gravitate towards me because I don't sweat it. I don't panic. I
Yeah.
remain calm. Still know how to kick a laugh out there
Yeah.
and just shift that frown upside down, as they say. Super cheesy.
Slightly.
But yeah, I think another thing that I also realized in the comparison act, like I always tend to compare myself with super high performers, people who are not dealing with all this physical stuff. And I'm just like, okay, Bijan, as an entrepreneur, you need to do better. Well, I never think of myself, hey there, here you had an option to slide down a slippery slope of depression and you didn't. Good for you. I don't look at the worst case scenarios that are always available to self isolate even more, to withdraw, to think the world is a bad place. Um, and I don't give myself any credit for that, also.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I slightly felt uncomfortable with. And actually, when I realized, hey, my mission is to help people alleviate their agony and get good at change, then I'm taking a look at myself. And actually, I need to share those stories to be able to really have that impact. And that's the part that released for me the block that was around the ego. Like, oh, now I'm going to talk about how cool I am. No, I'm just going to emphasize every time. Here we had an option to be destructive or constructive. And trust me, plenty of times I've had destructive episodes in my life. Whether
imagine.
it's drinking or partying or girls and just overdoing work, overdoing sports. But as you have to sit on those blisters and heal, again, you get the choice. You want to be constructive or destructive with your time on this planet. And I guess that's the part that I'm realizing. Okay, the new version of me needs to be very comfortable with that. And I was having a coaching client last week, and she was like really scared of like taking the dive, jumping into the water
Hmm.
physically, but also like metaphorically in
Hmm.
life and putting yourself out there. And at some point, she was like, "Oh, this whole conversation we're having, maybe it's triggering some trauma with you because
Oh wow.
you had your accident in the water and everything." And I just laughed and I said, "Hey, listen, I drowned, first of all, so I know what it's
Yeah.
like. And the swimming shorts that I drowned in, I still wear when I go swimming.
Mhm.
And I've been to the sea and the pool, and I don't want my world to get smaller like that."
Mhm.
And just that example struck so home with her that she was like, "Yeah, I'm also going to jump in the water now with it.
Mhm.
Going to get wet. That's it."
Yeah, but that is also a choice. Eh? You can remain in the camp of fear to
Mm,
not go into the water again. Or you can
mm.
just be like, yeah, that happened, but that doesn't mean that it's going to repeat.
Yeah, I think
That is a powerful choice of your mind.
every time. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, are you going to be instilled by fear or not?
Yeah, I mean, you can like really, you can decide in those moments, like standing at the pool and
Mm.
jumping into the pool or into the sea. It's like, yeah, it reminds you in some sense. It might remind you, or you can be just like, yeah, I want to take a swim. I want to go down. I want to take a
Yeah,
nice
I'm going to
swim.
enjoy
That's
this.
what I'm
Yeah.
going to enjoy.
Yeah. What's the change you have up your sleeve for yourself?
I think the biggest change at the moment is like around entrepreneurship. First of all, to really like, yeah, see it kicking off and really getting super powerful, and just like step into my power and just silence out those voices telling me, ah, okay, maybe someone ordered, but doesn't mean nothing. Nah, that's someone you knew. Maybe they're just gonna do you a favor. You know, all those
Mm,
voices. Every time they come up, I'm just like, no, thank you, that's not for me. And
mm,
to really like balance out this or silence it out and step into my power and really realize that what I'm talking about is not just something that I decided to do because it's a nice business idea. It's
mm,
something that I really believe deeply in. That helped me healing through my burnout and also
mm,
helps other people. Like literally the people that tried and reorder and come back with feedback. It's amazing. It really is changing people's
mm,
lives. And to take this that as source of good energy and put that fuel back into my body and
mm.
into my self-belief, I think that's something I'm working on at the moment.
So the new version of you doesn't doubt themselves.
No.
Mm,
But yeah, it also has a bit like as you said, the line between ego and just believing in yourself is kind of very very silent, very thin, very very fragile, I would almost say.
You
I
really
kind of
think that? Now we're talking about it.
I kind of think that. I don't know, when we've been writing, when we had this writing experiment,
Mm.
and
The
I
global
was
global shapers.
yeah, and I was reading it, and I kind of like I really felt how powerful my voice got when I was reading my full name in Polish, and then really like my ego kicked in and was like, "What makes you think that you're so important that you should say your name with such power?"
Yeah,
You
this
know,
pride.
this pride. So I really
Mm.
feel like this line between being yourself and ego is very thin for me. But
I,
at the same
I,
time, this is how I grew up also. Like Polish people are very proud people.
mm,
And they have a lot to be proud of. And
mm,
this is also something that is not bragging about, but it's just something that you can be proud of. The
mm,
way those people live from their hearts and care for each other is really beautiful. And it's not something that you find everywhere.
mm.
You know?
Yeah, all the Polish people I've met so far were very heartfelt people.
Yeah.
Easy to strike up super deep conversations in the first go.
Yeah.
Start
Absolutely.
crying, sharing stuff. Really, no, but also other ones. And this is exactly when you were pointing out like what makes you think you're special enough
Hmm.
to do such and such. This is where I was like, really, that's it's false. It's not true. I am special enough.
Everyone is actually special enough.
Yeah, and just like claiming your power in that sense, uh, feeling worthy of
Hmm.
finding yourself special and actually finding everybody else special.
Yeah, it's not you putting yourself above everyone, but really seeing everyone as
Elevating. That's
unique.
that's
Exactly.
that's that's really how I felt empowered to do it from a good place. Is like
Yeah.
I'm sharing this story to elevate you.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's it, and that actually is such a great source, like a fuel to do it, instead of like how much I feel restricted if I would be doing it to elevate myself.
Exactly.
You understand?
Yeah. Yeah, it also just like comes from the place if you're like, am I doing it to inspire one person at least and improve their health and well being with what I'm doing? Or is it because I want to polish my ego and make a hilarious amount of money with it? You know, that is also like the source where you're coming from is also something that proves that you're
But
not coming from a
you've
place
made
of
great
ego.
strides though. First, you were like super distant with making your videos, putting
Just,
yourself
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And what made you able to change that for yourself?
I think honestly, I was just like, hell with that. Seriously, I don't give shit. Like, uh, listening to my videos of my not perfect English that still has a German accent, I'm like, I'm not gonna change it within a week, so I just have to keep going. And even watching the video that I posted today about laser focus, and I was like, there's so many arms, amps, in it. I gotta improve that, but you can only improve by doing. That's the whole thing. You can sit in your little castle and be like, oh, this is the list of things that I want to improve. How to? It's not gonna happen. It's gonna fall off the sky on your shoulders, and you're gonna inherit it. No, you just have to do it. So when you do it, it's just gonna get better.
I also just like in that sense the humor of looking back at old things that you did,
It's also fucking cool. You're just there to do it.
allowing yourself the process of growth
Yeah.
and improvement, incremental or exponential, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what is the biggest new version of you like ahead? Like, what do you have in mind for yourself? That's like a big leap in this process that you're in.
To show up somewhere completely unprepared in front of many people and just like really
Rocket.
rock it, but like, you know, you have that spark that you get in those moments.
Mhm.
And I think I can really phrase things really well. But to like dare to do it once and just trust that this spark is gonna come last minute, that would be pretty cool.
And why is that so important for you to be able to show up somewhere unprepared?
Because I think I have been like really coming from a whole different angle of always showing up prepared. And I had to, I really had to. I guess I had to. I would not have dared to do it differently.
Okay.
But I really like myself when I can freestyle things. I really like it. Like, I think that it's really a funny thing to say, but I think the thing I'm doing that is building up to this freestyle is my magnet boards that I'm building, because it's like you have those words and you want to build a puzzle, but
You gotta
actually
figure
there is not a
something out.
puzzle. There is not a shape that you build into, because if you want to build a poem,
Just for people, Kay has bought a bunch of magnet words, and she's turning them into little art pieces.
yeah.
Maybe
so-
maybe we'll share a couple of these soon as well.
Yeah, but the point is there you have an idea what you want to write about, but those
You
words
don't
just
have
don't
the
exist.
words, yeah.
So then you like fucking really need to freestyle. And I think this on its own is kind of really building up to me showing up freestyle somewhere. And I start to really embrace it, because I'm like, you know, every time I feel something coming up in me of like, oh damn it, this word doesn't exist. Then I'm like, find another one.
Yeah, I think what I hear you saying there is also the letting go of perfection in that sense, and really embracing creation in that sense.
embracing creation is that part. Like there's so much in me, and I know it's sitting there, it's just waiting to be released in those moments. But I can over perfect it by preparing, of course.
Yeah, preparation.
And it's not bad or good to do or not to do, but just to have the balls to really show up somewhere without that preparation and speak in front of people. That's something I really want to experience.
Plenty of opportunities. I don't know who's gonna be your guinea pig, but you're gonna do it. It's also like a lot of that. I feel is also that you've practiced something so well that it might seem that you're unprepared for that instance, but you're living it, right? You're doing it all the time, so you don't have to prepare for riding a bicycle. You just know how to.
That's a beautiful one. Wow, I love that.
And bicycle riding is something that you don't forget as easily. Yeah, I myself also struggled with it a bit. But in that sense, I do feel like what you're saying reminded me of doing the Google presentation that my notes were gone. You know?
You knew it anyway. God damn it, you knew it anyway.
The difference with notes, I might have hit every mark. Without notes, I was doing my flow and just having a good time with it.
Yeah, but you see your slide with one word, then you anyway know what you want to say. And in that moment, you're going to say something that also lands, you know? And you allow this space for the unknown to be said. Also, which I think is really beautiful.
No.
But yeah, how about you? What do you...
what
would be your future version where you'd be really...
my future version that I'm like... It's
by.
a big leap that I'm gonna be taking and I'm ramping up to it is just involving more people and helping me.
Wow.
Just like challenging myself to pull out my phone book, look at all the context I have and be like, hey, listen, this is my mission. And also deal with the being turned down or like, yeah, that's part of it. People you reach out to, they don't even respond, all those things. But for me to feel empowered by asking people for help, because I know I'm on a pure mission and I know I have the voice, I know I have the words, and to just find more people who will share me with their crowd, share me with their people, and collaborate, but just help people get good at change. And for me, the big change in that sense is accept help, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's almost like phrased the way of like, if you allow yourself to accept help, the help will also come. You know?
100%.
Quite interesting.
100%.
What I see in that sense for myself is like now we started to reach out to all those brand ambassadors or possible brand ambassadors for my superfood pharmacy. And in the past, if I would reach out to someone, I would get no response and I'd be like, yeah, your product and brand is just not meaningful enough. So no one really cares.
Yeah.
And now if those people don't respond, I'm like, just move on. Not the perfect person to understand the mission next. No. Really, like with the best intention, you know, it might just come back at some point or not. It's okay. But
That's
don't compare it to my self-value.
Found myself thinking places that I asked for a speaking opportunity or something, and they told me like, you're not big enough, or we want bigger names. I was like, this is wonderful to hear that in this moment and know that the day that they will be knocking on my door,
you're gonna remember.
Yeah, and I'm also gonna remind them, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, remember when you said this isn't big or good enough for your stage?
Yeah.
I remember how I felt back then, and let's talk about that also.
Yeah.
Like,
wow, that's cool. Yeah, like we spoke about today when we spoke about the event end of March where I'm going to have my 5 minutes to speak. And you're like, oh, really? They just gave you 5 minutes to speak about my superfood pharmacy?
Yeah.
And honestly, when I received the message today, I was like, hell yeah, 5 minutes. I'm going to pack a super inspiring story in 5 minutes. Really excited about 5 times 60 seconds, which is 300 seconds. It's so much time to get all of that. I think it's amazing. You know, you got to celebrate the small things. This is great.
I believe that that attitude that you have right there is like such a key factor to like this gratitude. There's like looking at it like, hey, this is a big opportunity. I'm gonna embrace it.
Yeah, but I would also be completely different in the past. I'd be like, oh my gosh, only 5 minutes. Come on. What should I be talking about in 5 minutes? Whole different energy. You know, and I'd be like carrying this negativity with me into those 5 minutes.
Exactly.
I would be dragging it. People would feel it. They could not maybe phrase it, but they would feel it. But now I'm just like, yeah, 5 minutes, boom, boom. It's gonna be fun, you know? And that's a whole different thing. But it's really also like pulling yourself out of that. Pulling your self-worth and your ego out of that. It's not about you. People give you the stage. This is meant to be. Like literally, I started to really see the universe as giving me all the signs that I should do. I don't know. The other day I was trying to set up a couple of promotions, didn't work 2 times, and I was like, okay, the moment is just not right to set up promotions. Going to try in 2 hours. In 2 hours, worked within seconds. And like even those small things, sometimes you just, you know, you get 5 red lights and you're like, maybe I shouldn't go where I'm going. It's really powerful. If you start seeing those small things, it's really powerful. And then you just trust and have faith instead of thinking, oh, what do I want? But I want 10 minutes. I'll be not happy with 5 minutes. No, it's not about you.
No, that's right.
What did you say the other day? That basically what Oprah was saying, that you become the instrument for the universe too.
Yeah. Yeah, this intention that she was setting. She was like,
oh yeah,
if we create dreams for ourselves, we're just limited by our monkey brains. Like a poor person might dream for $100. A wealthy person might dream for $1 million, but still limited by the fact that there is so much. It's not just money, first of all. She was just asking the universe to use her, to make her
there was that.
Her instrument for the universe, and look at the greatness, the consistency, the length, the ups, the downs, always there.
She would have dropped dead if she would have seen that coming for her, probably.
Also.
You'll be like, no way.
You don't know. You
yeah,
really
exactly.
don't know.
But the key is also starting, you know, and believing that this is
going ending on the famous people notes. I really liked the Snoop Dogg's accepting the award. Like, I want to thank me. Like, really celebrating what you're doing there for yourself.
Absolutely.
The new version of me definitely is also in that camp. Like, hey, I've never backed down. I've never like taken a punch and was like, oh no, life is beating me up. Nah, I'm just like, turn the other cheek. Always sounded crazy in the Bible, but it's actually the only way forward. It's like, dust it off and go again.
That's cool.
You want to wrap up today's episode?
Yeah, I think that was really beautiful and powerful to hear that, and also kind of like untangle the constructs of the ego in that sense.
Most definitely.
And self-belief, and really look at the bigger picture for that. Yeah, and I love the ending is definitely powerful to see either Oprah or Snoop Dogg. Yeah,
big homies, by the way, those two.
Absolutely.
We don't know, but they're chilling.
Yeah, it's important to celebrate the successes as small as they are, but also, whatever setbacks you get, to not take them as such, but be like, no, either someone is not ready for that, or the universe is telling me otherwise. Brush it off, go ahead. You know, I think that's really powerful. Thank you very much. I think that was
Thank you, Kay, and thank you for listening, watching, tuning in. We want to thank you as well as we thank ourselves. Taking the time.
With us, sticking with us.
Yeah, talking about change, loving change. It's not always pretty. It's not always easy.
Not at all. But also that you're throwing all those topics at us. And you're part of the community. That makes us so happy. We are doing it for a while already now as well. So
thank you.
Share, comment if you got inspired by something. Please drop us a like.
Sure thing. Love change out.
Love change out.